back for more. It's ain't your first rodeo.
No, it's not.
No, it's under different circumstances.
Feels like it's almost home here now, yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Don't get too ahead of yourself.
Right.
You're still a guest. You're still a guest.
Anywhere I go, I'm a guest. That's the problem.
Big problem. It's an issue. You're back with high demand, though. A lot of people enjoyed the last episode.
Shout out to you.
Rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
So we brought him back. This time it's a 1K Convos. You know. And I think, when we released the last episode, it was right at the beginning of everything going on. Tensions, the racial tensions, everything bubbling.
Yeah.
Bubbling. And now it's exploding, not just America.
Globally.
Mm-hmm. Globally. What do you think? Well, before we even get into that, because right now is just an interesting time overall, especially if you're a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
So what now?
For basketball?
Mm.
It's scary because, there's just a certain level of uncertainty,
Mm.
But, they're your co-host, season. Some people, they're just losing scholarships. It's a lot. There's a lot going on that people are unsure of. Even for me, it'd be how is this going to affect my day-to-days? Stuff like that. This stuff is a level of uncertainty. And I think it's good because it's forcing all the hoopers to think, what about after basketball?
Mm-hmm.
Because, when you play ball your whole life, it's almost an excuse to stay childish and not grow up. But this moment, this COVID is forcing people to, there might not be basketball for me next year. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do other than that? So I think it's good, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I think with COVID happening, that's the reason, everybody's protesting. Because everybody's at home.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking about what the hell is going on and realizing that, shit's messed up out here.
Mm-hmm.
And it took for them to be stripped of everything going on, for them to realize, if I'm not working, the economy's not working.
Exactly.
Shit's not moving.
Exactly.
So, yeah, you're right. Outside of basketball, it's what is your identity?
Mm-hmm.
What are you offering? What are you offering the world still?
Yeah, that's pretty much a simple way to put it. Even what you said with the everything breaking out, people paying more attention because of COVID, and it's also because there's not much going on in the world because of COVID. Because you have the media, so the media controls almost everything we see. Instagram, everything we see is the sports, fluff pieces, anything that's going on that could be a distraction. There's not enough going on in the world to keep up with the movement or to even distract us from the movement.
Mm-hmm.
You turn on the news today, you're going to either hear about COVID, something stupid that Donald Trump said, or the racism, systemic racism. And there's nothing big enough that's going to happen tomorrow or next week, unless it's a cure for COVID or a cure for racism, that'll distract us from those things. So it's there's no fluff pieces that the news could turn on after this. They have to talk about these issues. Everyone has to talk about these issues. We're forced to. So that's another thing that's actually good about COVID. There's a lot of hidden blessings because of COVID right now, and I would consider that one of them too.
If the NBA was to come back, would it be a distraction to what's going on?
Yes. I say yes because, first of all, I love basketball. I love NBA, obviously. I'm a hooper. But, let's put our biased opinion to the side for a second. The NBA hasn't even come back yet.
Mm-hmm.
Just the conversations have come back about it. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Uncle Drew, Kyrie, and he spoke out and said, "Yo, we need to like put basketball on hold." And people, and you go look on like Instagram posts or anything of like of him. First of all, the front page would be him saying that, like, you need to put basketball to the side and worry about this. And you look at the comments section of those things of him or people speaking out on that, all you're gonna see is just people ridiculing him, calling him selfish, calling him this and that, basing it off of his identity of his basketball moves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, because he said, or like trying to take away his credibility because he once said the earth was flat for shits and giggles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yo, this is exactly what he's talking about. The season hasn't even started yet. This guy just expressed his opinion. But we're just so ready to let our basketball bias and our opinions on how we feel about them as athletes determine, unless it's LeBron. LeBron has a different kind of pull. But for guys like Kyrie and other guys who want to speak on these things, and we're just so quick to put that narrative on them
Mm-hmm.
that they've picked up over the years. That's a basketball narrative into their social life or their outside life.
Mm-hmm. That's a byproduct of social media, though.
That's the point, you know. And that's how can you say basketball is not going to be a distraction?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can you, like, just based off of that, you know, or KD saying something, oh, look who's talking, a snake. Yo, we're talking about real issues right now. Put your basketball opinion to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's crazy. People can't even do that. So you're telling me when we got some of the most popular athletes in the world, maybe not but some of them, going back to a sport that people don't even love anymore off of the purity of the sport. They love it because it's so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So you have these people who love the sport for all the wrong reasons. Of course it's going to distract them from what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that's why it's like, and there's going to be a lot of things in the NBA. Like, yeah, they're going to have their speeches and they're going to approach certain things on a daily basis, but it's not going to be close to enough work that can be done by them not sitting at home, but just not going back to basketball being their main priority.
Mm.
And yeah, so
as a basketball player, you just don't think basketball should come back, period.
That's just kind of a, like, I don't know, yeah, like, I would say it shouldn't, like, you know, like, right now there's bigger things at hand. If I was, I mean, it's easier to say if I were somebody, okay, if I were somebody, I would sit out, or if I was somebody, I would do this. You know, it's easier said than done. But, like, these guys have a choice right now. Because what's going on, the rush to get the NBA back isn't because, like Adam Silver says, it's going to help bring notice to these issues. No, it's because the owners are hurting. People are hurting. They may not be hurting, but they want theirs. Mm-hmm. And for guys with the power of like LeBron, AD, and Kawhi to sit there and say, yo,
Kyrie's the vice president of the Players Association.
Too, exactly, you know, and Chris Paul, the president, to sit there and say, yo, no, I'm not gonna sit there and put more money in your pocket while my people are looting the streets and rioting the streets and starving, you know, because you may be helping the cause with your voice and maybe in a short sighted distance, but if you look at it in the long run, you're not, because you're still feeding their pockets. Mm-hmm. As long as their pockets are going to be fed and are being, you know, or just adding up to their revenue, they're not going to care about what we have to say are our issues.
Absolutely.
So yeah, to me, NBA is going to definitely be a distraction.
So then, if sports are a distraction, what needs to be the focus, you think, right now? What needs to be the first thing that needs to be solved right now? Because racism itself is such a broad issue. It's a broad issue, right? Because when we think about systemic racism, you think about education, you think about institutions, you think about policing, you think about residential segregation, you think about, there's so many layers, you know. What has to be the first order of action? What needs to happen? What needs to change first within racism in order to start the domino effect of everything else changing? It's a tough question.
It's a very tough question. And the thing about racism is it's deeply enrooted in people's minds. And some people can feel racist. Like, this is going to be tough to understand, so bear with me. Some people can be racist without having ill intent.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that is that it has become the norm because it's been fed to us through our subconscious minds and through so many kind of rhetorics that we understand to be the norm today. So what I mean by that is, like, through the movie industry. You watch a movie and you look at majority of black people playing roles in movies. Most of the times they're playing a demoralizing role at some point in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you go to ads, anything, commercials, like it has been, or like even rap music, which I love, which is our music, it's our art, it's our platform, but like it has come to the point where these are the images that are painted of black people, you know? Mm-hmm. And so even some people, there's a lot of people on this side of the country or this side of the world who haven't had real interactions with black people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when you don't have those interactions with those people, what is your opinion of them? It's what you see.
The politics of representation.
Exactly. So it's what you see in the movies. You're gonna think, oh yeah, that's how they act. Or you see them act on TV. Oh, that's how they act. Or what you hear in music. Oh, that's how they act. So then, what I meant by what I said earlier is they can have relations with no ill intent. Is that they have these opinions fed to them through media, through all these things I was talking about. So when they see a black person their first time, maybe interact with a black person for the first time, which might be when they're 14, 15, that might be their first interaction for some of these people in small towns. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that makes a lot of the majority of our country and America too. So when they have these interactions at 14, 15, they don't know how to act and they don't feel comfortable. And that's racism, but they don't have any ill intent. They're like, yo, I don't hate this person. It's just they don't know this person.
It's ignorance.
You know, It's ignorance. So they don't know anything about us. So, yeah, I mean, the first thing I would say that's mandatory is the education system. Mm-hmm. Like from K to 12, like put something in there that makes them aware of us, that we're not just some tools or animals, you know, like, and aware of our history. And not just the slavery and the Jim Crow, the greatness and like shine on our history, because we have a lot of great history, you know.
Absolutely.
So once you put that, once you shed such a strong light on the negativity of our history, and I'm not saying we shouldn't. I think that should be a huge part of it too. But throw some good things about us in there as well, so they're not just constantly looking down at us. Mm-hmm. You know, let's throw some things in there that'll uplift our people as well. So then we have the courage and the strength to look at each other and love one another.
Well, it starts with like little things, you know, like here. I don't know. I didn't go to high school here, so I don't know if they do anything for Black History Month. So Black History Month is limiting our history to 1 month out of the school year is pretty demoralizing. Like 1 month, the shortest month of the year. That you know, so when we realize that Black history is also a part of history, then it's like, okay, now we can push the conversation in the right direction. The problem is with our education system. Is the education system from K to 12 to college to university, all of that is a Eurocentric system. That model is a European system. So when you've brought that here and you put this in this country like that, you know, it's an effect of colonialization. You're upholding this standard that was created in Europe. Yeah. Right? Because when people came here, when Christopher Columbus and the people who came and just found Canada and all that shit, there was already systems in place here.
Definitely.
The indigenous people had their own things going on. You know, yeah, maybe they couldn't read or write, but they could talk. They had their own language. They had their own communication. They like holistic, spiritually. They had all these things,
and they were great with making things as well. You know, like using their resources.
Absolutely, they're the most resourceful people
outside of Africans, probably.
Outside Africans, probably the most resourceful people. You know, because they were one with their environment.
Exactly.
You know, they're so spiritually ahead of everybody. You meet any indigenous person, you know, and the nuances of their culture when they bring it out, you know, like burning sage and all that stuff. It's I don't know. It's so soothing to the soul.
It is.
You know what I mean? So
refreshing.
These people are like, they're at one with themselves. You know, they know themselves better than anybody. So for a group of people to come here and try to strip them of their identity, of their culture, you know, speaks to the genocide of the people. And then when they brought, you know, African people here to, you know, uphold this capitalist society, because that's what black people are. Capitalism is built on the backs of black people, the backs of slavery. You know, you own a plantation, and you're picking cotton. What cotton is your commodity?
Exactly.
Black people are your commodity. They're providing a service to uphold that system. You know, and obviously, you know, there's so much work and so much studies on capitalism, like, you know, Marx and stuff like that. Which is why a lot of the narrative is, you know, abolishing capitalism. Yeah. You know, but it's a weird, that's another conversation.
That's a different subject.
It's a different subject, but, you know, the back of America and Canada is built on the backs of colonialism, capitalism, regulation, criminalization, all this stuff, you know. So that's why the historical context is so important. You know, not just the historical context of where you might come from, but where the country, how this country is built, you know. And when going back to what I was saying about the Eurocentric education system, that allows them to control the narrative, right? Because your education system is based on what? White supremacy, right? It's whitewashing history. They get to tell the stories. They get to dictate the curriculum.
Exactly.
They get to, you know, so there is no sense of urgency to tell the other side of the story because
they control it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been trickled down so much to this point where now it's like, okay, now the beneficiaries of it don't even know that they're benefiting from it. That's how ingrained the system has.
And that also goes far as back to like there's like people don't understand that, like what you said, that goes far back into slavery and stuff like that, and how it caused what happened today. And even to go further more, if you look at like Africa right now, I'm not talking about 50, 60, 100 years, like right now, that is the number one source. They're the number one source in the world for natural resources. So you have countries around the world who are still making people slaves in Africa. And this time it's even worse. They're not taking from their created plantations and picking cotton. No, they're making them pick stuff from their own land and hand it to the white man, so they can sell it to people like us here.
That's globalization,
you know. So that just proves to you right there that slavery still exists. It's still there. Like if you hear about what's happening in the Congo or any of these countries that's going on there,
Sierra Leone,
exactly. You know, like it still exists. So like it goes deep into where we come from. So even when we do get the opportunity to come here, we're still just another nigga. You know? So it's deep, man. It's deep. It goes really deep, and people don't understand that. And here in Canada, a lot of times, I've been talking to people a lot on a daily basis, and people don't think these things exist. Like systemic racism. There's people that think this, and it's like, how naive can you be? You know, our prime minister, and our prime minister put on a black face, and he was one of the first people to say, yeah, these things exist.
Mm.
So like, for people to come out there and not even realize that, it's crazy.
Well, blackface is it's a lot more common than we think.
Yeah.
You know,
Like we found out, or you knew already.
yeah, in Iran.
Yeah, I figured it out last week.
Yeah, they practice blackface
Yeah.
during Nowruz. You know, that's a whole other conversation about embracing history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people don't know that there's a lot of black people in Iran.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people just don't know that.
Yeah.
You know,
like I went to the bank the other day, and the lady who served me, she was Iranian. She saw my name, and I saw hers. I said, "Yeah, you're definitely Iranian." She said, "How did you know that?" She's like, "You're not Iranian." I said, "Read my name again." Oh yes. You know? yes, Barzin Eskandarkkhah, yes. I'm like, yeah, like she's like, but you don't look Iranian, you know, like, I mean, like there's a lot of us, you know,
mm-hmm.
like
there's a lot of us, and then, you know, like that's another whitewashing of history. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the slave trade wasn't just, you know, of Africa to America.
no,
You know,
everyone.
This everyone. You know,
Everyone
the Spanish regime invented. Actually, the Portuguese, I think, invented slavery, and you know, they went down to Africa, and then you know they, you know, propagated it and made it a thing, and then the Atlantic slave trade was between Africa and the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side was the Indian Ocean slave trade,
Exactly.
which took people from East Africa through, you know, the Arab countries, you know, the Persian Gulf, Iran, Iraq, all these other places, right? So slavery is not just, you know, an American problem. Canada too. Canada had their fair share of slaves too. You know, the slave trade was a big thing, you know, in the 14, 15, 16, 17,
everywhere in the world.
century, everywhere in the world.
You
You know, so it's not just America. And you know, black people were the subjects of it. You know, slavery was all over the world, you know, but like black people have suffered the most from the slave trade.
And to add to that point, America, more so than any country that has been through slavery, is dealing with like the people whose forefathers were slaves are dealing with those repercussions the most today. So that's why it's so huge. Canada as well, not more so slavery, just I would say just systemic racism. But the direct impact of slavery still affects people in America, black people in America today.
Absolutely.
You know, that's why it's so huge. And the fact that, and the thing that bothers me the most is you look at the celebrated history of it and what America has created a habit of doing to black people is because they came here, they stripped them of everything. They took their soul and ripped it out of them. Names, gone. Religion, gone. Families, stripping them from families, making them breed like freaking Joe Exotic did to tigers and Tiger King. That's what they were doing to black people, and you know, hundreds of years ago. And then once they gave them their freedom, they didn't really give them their freedom. They would give them like a taste of freedom in doses every 50 years. So it got to the point where it was like when Black History Month was created, at the time it was probably a win psychologically. You know, they're like, oh my God, we have a month because they didn't have anything. So it's like you every 50, 60 years, you give them hope, you feed them hope, you feed them a little taste, like, oh, maybe there's hope. Barack Obama, you know, it's another instance where you fed us hope. But really there hasn't, you look deeply and rooted in the amendments and in the Constitution, there hasn't been any real change.
No, there hasn't.
You know? So Yeah, man. It's deeply rooted, yo. It's crazy. Sometimes shit keeps me up at night, fam. You know, like
it's crazy because it's so real, you know, and you know, on social media people would, you know, make fun of people being woke about this stuff, but this shit has been like, there's people who are just waking up to it now, but niggas like me and you have been really dissecting this from a long time ago,
for years
now, you know. So this is not a surprise to us that this stuff is happening, but for a lot of people, they're looking at it, they never took it in.
You know, like, and that's the thing, those are you could tell who those people are when their first thing is like, you know, like, I think the rioting and looting is a bit much, and you could just tell when you hear that reaction, because it's like, yo, that's nothing, you know, like, that's nothing compared to what the people have been through. We should be surprised that people aren't being stoned, like, you know, like it goes that deep, like like, I've heard someone say, like, in an interview, I was watching an interview like last week, and someone said black people are some of the most passive people and nicest people and kind people, and it's true, bro, because if you look at what is happening to us and the fact that they haven't risen up and started a revolution, you know, like, or done anything to that matter yet, you know, it shows you, it's like, yo, that has to be true. Because there is no civilization in the world that would allow what has been allowed to black people and just sit there and take it. And, like, that's why the rioting and looting, like, yeah, like, bro, like, and actually there's so much film showing that it's not even black people starting it.
Absolutely.
But you know what? If someone starts a trend, a lot of people are going to follow.
Absolutely. And
I'm not even mad at anybody for trying to, for pushing and going to extreme measures to get that message across. Because it showed the true colors of police.
Absolutely.
It showed the true colors. People were backing them up. Like, you know, not all cops are bad. Well, not all black people are bad.
Absolutely.
So then now you see people running over people with shields and horses and pushing an old man back, splitting his head open, brain damage. You know, like now their eyes are opening. Like you said, their eyes are people are finally becoming woke. So,
but it took it to get to this point, and I don't think, like, people are like, oh, the momentum's dying down or whatever, but we're still at the beginning.
Yeah.
This is still the beginning stages of this. Like, it hasn't climaxed.
Yeah, it hasn't even. So the people that say that this is dying down are the people who are checking their Instagram and Twitter for trends. Because if you look behind the scenes, it's like you said, it hasn't even climaxed yet. It hasn't even reached the point before the climax. This is just the beginning.
It's the intro.
It's the intro. So, yeah, like, the people who are saying it's dying down, yeah, it's not a trend on Twitter no more. And the people who truly care are probably happy about that. Because going to your Twitter and dropping a tweet about what's going on, it's not what's really going to help, you know? So, yeah, it's no longer a trend, but this is just the beginning. People rioting, people looting, you know, presidential election is just right around the corner. Yo, these things matter, you know? So, yeah, people, it's not dying down.
No, it's not. And that's why it's important, you know. People ask what they can do to help, you know. And I'm probably going to do a video on this later, but there's 5 things, okay? 1, you have to vote.
Yeah.
If you do not vote, you have no say, like, publicly, on how the country is ran. You can't complain about it. Because when it was time for you to speak up and make your voice heard, you didn't vote. So that's first. Second, continue conversation. You got to keep pushing the conversation, keep having the uncomfortable conversations with people, right? You know, if I'm talking, like, us having this, somebody's going to watch this and somebody's going to get inspired by this. And they're going to go and have the conversation with somebody else.
Yeah.
Third, education.
That's the
educating yourself.
That's the hugest one.
Educating yourself on what you can do, why this is like, the system is like this. Okay. 4th, action. Action, signing petitions, donating funds, sending emails, making the calls, speaking at public hearings. Some of these hearings are open to the public. If you think you have something to say, go and speak.
Yeah, that's important, man.
Go and speak. Like people don't realize how much power they have, because maybe all their life they've been told that they don't have the power, or convinced that they don't have it, you know? And 5th is my favorite one. Buy black.
Yeah.
Support black businesses. There's so many people that have businesses that are black, you know, that are trying to get ahead. And ownership is so big. You know, we talk about NIP. We always talk about ownership. We talk about HOVE. We talk about ownership. So these people that are doing this stuff, you know, buy black, support black.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're doing here. We're doing the Persian rug business. Yeah, it's Iranian owned, but, you know, the faces of it are black. You know, we're going to benefit from this. You know, if you know a restaurant that's black, go and eat there.
Exactly.
You know, a black podcast, listen to it.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So these 5 things are going to help, you know, build and build and build. And obviously there's other things that can be done. But at the bare minimum,
at least those are the minimum requirements.
These are the minimum requirements, you know. And when people realize that, you know, through everything that's gone on, black people are the strongest people in the world. We literally have the blood of me and you have the blood of slaves.
Yeah.
Black people have the blood of slaves. Our ancestors have gone through the most.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So with that, you see these, look at you, like Kobe and Jordan, Nip, all these black people, Malcolm, Martin, you know, Farrakhan, you know, Maya Angelou, you know, Nina Simone, Rosa Parks, you know, all these black people from all these different walks of life are carrying the might of hundreds of thousands of slaves. And it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're black, you come from a land of
slavery.
Not just kings.
Yeah. Don't forget that.
We were kings way before this shit. History doesn't acknowledge it, but we were fucking kings.
Yeah.
So, you know, all this stuff that's happening right now and has happened in the last 400 years is just a little dent in our history.
Exactly. This is just a fraction of what's going to happen.
A fraction. You know? We're not defined by slavery.
Nope.
We're not defined by that. The blood of a slave, heart of a king. Like, that's what we're defined by. That's what's going to get us everything we're supposed to have. You know, but like in order to manifest that shit, in order to get that shit, there has to be so much knowledge of self and development and knowing what you come from. And bro, an educated black man is the most dangerous person in the world. The most dangerous.
Definitely. Even like knowledge, like you're saying, like knowledge of self, that's like huge. Cause like it does so much for you mentally when you realize where you've come from. Cause like if I'm somebody, you know, for example, I don't know my pops. I'm just there in the hood. I don't even have the means or the appetite for more knowledge and to know more about myself. That means if someone comes to me with a certain thing or a certain opportunity, that I could acknowledge it to myself that, yeah, you know what, that might be a risk, but there's no care for me to not take that risk, because I don't have enough knowledge of self or self-love to be like, you know what, it doesn't seem like a risk. So like if you put self-knowledge, you just equip yourself with all the history that's true to your bloodline. Like, just study it, just take it in. Everyone has a phone, everyone has the internet, You know, go research your bloodline. I don't recommend going to Ancestry.com, but just look at the roots of yourself, of where you come from. Ask your mom. Ask your grandma. You know, ask somebody in your family. And that will put a certain accountability within yourself, because you're proud of who you are. Once you're proud of who you are, you second guess and you think about everything you're gonna do. Everything. So that's like, to me, like you're saying, knowledge of self, like that's huge to anybody. If you want to know, if you're a black person, like, yo, what can I do for myself? Yo, knowledge of self. Figure out where you come from, who you are. Because if you figure out your history, you wouldn't put it on the line for a quick buck.
Absolutely.
You know? So I think that's huge.
It's super important, and that's why I think that the most important thing is to know what you come from.
Exactly.
Because then everything you do, it will be a reflection of your past.
Exactly.
You know, when people dwell on the past, you know, they dwell on the wrong things. But when you dwell on, oh, this is what I come from, this is what I stem from, this is part of my identity, you know, then you'll never have a problem with your purpose.
Exactly.
You know, and it's easier said than done,
of course,
but it's so necessary. You know, that's why when I went to Iran, what it did for my mental and my brain, like, it wasn't about basketball. That's what I went there for, but it was so much deeper. As a grown-ass man, to go there, I was a man technically, but I wasn't a grown-ass man yet. But it was very crucial for my growth.
And I never understood that. Like, you always told me when you came back, you're like, yo, you gotta go. Yo, you gotta go. And I still haven't been. But it wasn't until, like, maybe, like, halfway through last year when I just did some research myself and looked into something and learned from Pops or, you know, talking to our family. Just, like, I'm like, bro, I only got, like, a taste of what you're talking about, and it hit home for me. Because it's just a whole different world. Like, you realize the world is bigger than what you really are. And, like, that, like, you know, I never understood when you said that, or when people say that. Or even Nip said that, you know?
Yeah, Nip went back to Eritrea.
Yeah, he went to Eritrea, you know, from L.A., South L.A., like, you get to see that, because in America, brainwashes you. This is the world. This is how the world works. America's how the world works. This nigga went and opened his own eyes, and you could just see it from everything he said on from that point. You know?
Absolutely. And I'm not finished. I'm trying to go to Nigeria, too. I'm trying to go to Africa, and I'm trying to see that shit, too, because that's a part of it, too. But, you know, Iran was the taste. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's so crucial. And you see it in like you said, in Nip's values. He went back to where he came from.
His eyes were wide open.
And it opens your eyes. It does wonders for you as a person, because now you see that what your identity is based on. You know, and you'll never settle for less. You'll know your worth exactly.
Even I watched an interview with him, and he said, like, yo, when I came back, I was hesitant to go back to gangbanging. You know, like, just let that sink in. Like, that's all he knew his whole life was gangbanging. And when he came back, he's like, bro, like, I have a duty, a responsibility, and it's bigger than me. You know, it's bigger than me just risking it all. Like, it's huge, bro. That's huge.
And you know, that's exactly what it is. That's why I attribute all my everything for me, and my purpose is way bigger than me. You know, I know where my family comes from. You know, dad was an entrepreneur. His grandpa was an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's in the bloodline.
It's in the bloodline. And then, like, you know, being black, you know, being a descendant of Africa, there's a whole other side of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's so crucial to know exactly what you come from. Because when you know that, then you will never settle for anything.
Exactly.
Anything below your worth. Anything. Because you know exactly what you come from.
Exactly.
You know, so it's so important. And people, and that's why, like, people will, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
When somebody knows their self-worth. Because it comes off as cocky. it might come off as, you know, like
Yeah,
self-absorbed, you know, but like, bro, this person just knows what.
Yeah, they know what they want.
They know what they want. They know what's for them. They know what's not
Exactly.
for them. You know what I'm saying? It's much easier to listen to your soul and listen to what your destiny, your divine purpose is, because now you know exactly where you come from.
Exactly.
And it's sad because a lot of people in America don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why it's so hard for, you know, Black Americans to rise up.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah, fam.
Because you've been stripped of all this. Imagine if Black people were here on their own terms.
Look at
Canada and America.
But like, take a second and look at a lot of the Black people who come on their own terms.
Exactly.
You know, and look how easy it is for them.
Yeah.
You know, because they chose that. They have their identity still, like Nigerians. You know, some of the most successful African people come from Nigeria, and that's because they go anywhere in the world you go as a Nigerian, and they chose to be there.
Exactly.
And you know, and like you said, looking at the African Americans, so many of my teammates, when I first met them, like, yo, where are you from? What's your background? In Toronto, that's like the first question you ask anybody.
You ask anything.
Yeah,
where you from?
You know, where's your background? You know, it's diverse city. But when I understood that they just didn't know, like the confusion in the answer, like, yo, like, I don't know. It was like, it's like heartbreaking a bit, bro.
Yeah, I never understood too. Like, I used to ask my teammates the same thing,
Yeah.
and some of them didn't know.
I used to roast them for, like, what do you mean you don't know? You know, but like, yo, what do you mean you don't know, fam? But then I look at them like, yo, like they really don't know, like, like even their names, fam, like their names. They don't. Do you think you go to Africa, you're gonna meet a Black person named fucking Sam, or like, you know what I mean? Have a name like that, like Robert or something like that? No, bro. Like they wear
slave names.
Exactly. If not slave names, then they're masters' names. So like,
and for those people that don't know, that is why Malcolm X refers to himself as Malcolm X, because he didn't want to use his slave name.
Exactly. He took away the master's name. That's why it's X. So, you know, like, that's deep. Like, that's deep, you know? That's a dude who sat there when he was in prison and took the time to teach himself. So, and
that's what I was saying, you know, on one of my other episodes. That's why it's so important to be alone and think about these things. You know, your identity is everything. You know, and, you know, going back to Kyrie, you know, everything he stands on. You know, people forget Kyrie knows himself.
Yeah, but Kyrie's an intellectual person. Like, Kyrie's smart as hell. If I wish he would. He's such a introverted person, so he doesn't put himself out there. But you get a chance to listen to that dude talk. Like, he's a smart ass dude. You know, and yeah, I just wanted to say that. You continue.
He's like a modern. He's a spawn of Kobe, bro.
Yeah, bro.
You know, we look at Kobe and we see Kobe, and, you know, Kobe he walked the walk, he talked the talk. You know, he was the greatest of all time, hands down. You know, but you look at Kyrie, and Kyrie embodies all of that. You know, and Kyrie knows himself. Kyrie's a leader. You know, so when we hear him say stuff like, you know, we shouldn't go back and play, I sit there and I'm like, yeah, Kyrie, you're right.
You have some points, bro.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Because right now, if basketball comes on, the attention from everything going on goes away.
Yeah.
And when Kobe died, you know, you saw the impact of how every single person, regardless of their skin color, mourned his death.
Even people who hated him.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
You know, that there's so much power in that. You know, and now you lose the glue guy, and now the world has fallen apart.
Like, literally.
But it's falling apart for good reasons.
You
know what I'm saying? And yeah, they're just so similar. Even the way they play, the way they study the game,
the way they pick their spots,
the way they pick everything about them is so similar. And one of the things people never realize, you know, Kobe saw the game from a young age, from Italy. right? He was in Italy. His dad played in Italy. His dad was a pro. His dad played in the NBA. And then he came to high school, middle school, high school in America.
Yeah.
So because of that, his game was his understanding of the game was so much more advanced than everybody else, because he saw the international game and then
the fundamentals
and everything. And then he came here and learned the other side, the athleticism, the flash, all that shit. You know, so see like how Luka Doncic is so successful. Because he learned the fundamentals and he grew up playing as grown man. Mastered the fundamentals. And then he didn't come here to play in his teen years. He came here as a grown-ass man to the NBA. Still 19, killing. So then you look at Kyrie, it's the same thing.
Oh, shit.
Because he spent time in Australia.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, his father played pro in Australia. Yeah, that's true.
He spent a lot of time in Australia. And then high school, he came here and
I didn't think about that.
He came here and learned the game. From what Americans play off, the flash, the aggressiveness, the all that, you know. So that's why they're so alike. They have the same path. Yeah, they went through the international, the fundamentals, learned the game the right way. Which is why Kobe is so detail-oriented. Same with Kyrie.
Yo. That's crazy, bro.
And then they came here and they played against the athletes, the big guys, the strong guys, you know. And Kobe always said if he never went to college, he was going to go to Duke. And Kyrie went to Duke. You know, and people don't make those goes over your head.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You don't make these connections, but that's why they're so alike.
And even to add to that point, they're both like Kobe. What Kobe was in the 90s, skill wise, is what Kyrie is today. They were both ahead of their time. When you never seen somebody at Kobe's size come up, chew the gum, crossover, and come in and just punch it like that. You've never seen that before. And then now you've never seen someone with the pill like Kyrie. Just dude's a wizard, bro. You don't know what he's gonna do.
How many point guards do you know fucking ask for the ball, elbow? Post up. How many point guards do that?
Yo, fam, done. Like
Chris Paul, maybe the only one.
But like the way Kyrie does it, like bump, shimmy, fade, like bro,
bro.
And just his package is ahead of his time, and so was Kobe's. You know, and I think that ties back to what you said, like the fundamentals, learning the fundamentals first, and then building the flash afterwards. Because then you have purpose with your moves.
Absolutely.
You know, you're not just doing moves to do moves. Like Kyrie does a lot of moves, but everything is with the purpose, you know?
Yeah, if those guys can both kill anybody in 3-dribble 1-on-1.
If they want, yeah.
2-dribble 1-on-1.
2-dribble, you know? They're just that good. Like, it's crazy.
And that's why Kobe is better than Jordan. Because his fundamental package is way
more advanced than Jordan's,
You know, Mike had the dominance and whatever, and everybody has that, you know. But that fundamental package, the detail, which Kyrie embodies the same thing, you know, and so, you know, same DNA.
Exactly.
Different animal, same beast, you know. But Kyrie in that, I have a lot of admiration for Kyrie, and even Kyrie playing under LeBron's shadow. Yeah. You know, the same thing Kobe went through. Kobe played in Shaq's shadow.
Yeah, that's actually really true.
You know, and Kyrie, if he stayed, they would have won another one. Yeah. If everyone was healthy. But he said he got out of it. He got out of there early, but he still has to go through the same growing pains that Kobe went through. And I think he will get another one. Maybe
think so
two.
Too.
If KD's healthy, he gets 2, maybe 3.
And like, if you were forgetting, that Kyrie was killing this year.
Oh yeah, he was
killing. So you add, KD is just gonna make his job easier. KD is a purist. Like he doesn't need, he doesn't need much touches. When you saw it on Golden State, his touches went down, but his efficiency went up. You know, like he's gonna figure out a way to put the ball in the bucket.
His job just got easier.
Exactly.
And it's gonna be the same thing with Kyrie.
Exactly. So, yeah, man, that's that. I love Kyrie, bro. I love Kyrie.
You put the two guys. You put 2 winners on the same team. They both won. They were.
Did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, so Raptors are still, I think, the faves. The Lakers are the faves, but I like the Raptors to beat.
You want Lakers over Clippers?
Before the break, I was taking the Clippers. After the break, now that LeBron has had a lot of time off, I will take the Lakers this year over the Clippers. Only because of this break. If this COVID shit didn't happen, I would have the Clippers going to the finals against the Raptors.
I don't know, man. I have an emotional tie to Kawhi Leonard.
Me too. Absolutely, me too.
You know, the dude's unbelievable, bro.
I think the Clippers are better than the Lakers.
Yeah.
But it's just what time off can do to some guys.
But LeBron got that time off last offseason.
He did, yeah,
you
absolutely.
know?
And he was killing.
He was killing this season, but don't forget, Kawhi needs that time just as much as LeBron does.
That's true.
You know?
True.
So
That's true.
It's going to be interesting.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. I don't really care for the NBA to come back. I don't think they should come back.
That's the distraction right there. Look what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we're having a conversation about real shit.
Yeah. And the NBA hasn't even started yet, bro. It's
basketball.
Just like that, bro.
And this is why it's so important for basketball players to think about what they bring to the table outside of hoops.
Yeah.
You know, for me, this is a conversation I had very, very early on because I wasn't as good as I thought I was.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the case for all.
Which is it is the case for a lot of hoopers, and me embracing that is what led me to that, and a combination obviously with my trip and a lot of factors is what made me find a greater purpose. You know, like even with me speaking on these events and everything going on and speaking at the public hearings, it's not about me.
No.
It's never been about me.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that if I say the right things and I can open the doors for the right people to get in the room, then I've served my purpose.
Yeah. You've done your job.
I've done my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just the one willing to speak out because that's what I've always
That's what you do.
That's what I do. But when it comes time to come to the table, I want the right people to be in there to represent us so that the right change will happen. Because right now, those rooms are not filled with anybody that look like us.
Exactly.
So that's where my duty of speaking out on this shit comes in. It's not about me. It's not about 15 minutes of fame. I could give a fuck. But if the right person gets in that room, that's the goal. That's what I'm trying to achieve. You know, so that's why, you know, we can't be complacent. And the more you know, the more you're educated, the more you can contribute, the more we can, you know,
definitely,
you know, tackle this head on, you know, because Canada has a problem.
Yeah, fam.
Canada has a problem. It's not just it's the education, policing, even in basketball. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, bro. It's everywhere. And it's my job to shed light on those things. It's your job to shed light on those things. It's our job to speak on these things. We're educated. We're black. We experienced this shit. We've experienced this shit firsthand. So, no, the momentum isn't dying down.
Nowhere close.
It's strong. It's strong. It's just that black people need to be pulled out of their day-to-day lives and see it from a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Once you see it from that bird's eye view, you're going to realize, oh, shit, this shit's fucking broken.
Yeah.
I got to go protest.
Exactly.
Oh, this shit's fucking broken. I got to speak on this. Oh, shit, this shit's broken. I got to do something. You know, it's bigger than the individual. And that's the definition of a stand-up guy. Is if you're willing to stand up on what you believe in.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be passive with this shit.
No. You know, one time, two pieces of advice that I've gotten that are so relevant right now. And they're probably some of the best advice I ever got in my life. One is that if you're part of this movement, or if you're part of anything and you want to contribute, use what you do best, figure out what that is, and figure out how to incorporate that in the movement. That's that was the first piece of advice I got. And this next piece is actually something that my homie told me in a situation that had nothing to do with this at all. He's driving a car, someone tried to switch lanes, and dude just was not doing it. He was being all passive about it. He just overtook his lane. Homie looked at me and said, my nigga, passive aggression is going to get you nowhere in life. but he was talking about switching lanes. But when I heard that shit, I'm like, bro, that shit is so true. You cannot be passive about anything, because if you are, someone is gonna put their flicker on. It might not even put their flicker on and take your lane and cut you off. So you cannot be passive aggressive about anything, and like that approach doesn't help you. Doesn't help anybody.
Doesn't help anybody.
You know. So
I'm starting to learn that a lot now.
Yeah.
I used to be very, very passive with a lot of shit. It was selective, passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some shit I was passive about, some shit I was aggressive about.
Mm-hmm.
There was no in between. It was one or the other.
Yeah.
But now I'm realizing you have to be aggressive.
Yeah.
You have to, like, everything's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing's a choice. You can choose to stay silent on these issues, or you can choose to speak up and put your foot on the gas. And white people too. White people are so important to this movement.
Yeah, bro. They don't understand. Like they don't understand. You know, and it's hard to understand. Like it's hard to understand something that doesn't directly affect you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like to be able to look at it and to say, you know what, like this is bigger than me. Like you said, it's a stand-up person. It's a stand-up guy. And in this fight, you got to realize that even if you're a business owner, you have some kind of entity, it's more than your entity. You know, you got to stand up and be that bigger person and look at the collective people who are suffering from this systemic racism going on, you know? So there's one girl on my Snapchat. She is actually a friend of mine. Funniest thing. She posted on a story. She said, link to my finally made an OnlyFans. Swipe up.
You swiped up?
No.
Fucking
First of all, I didn't even...
You swiped up.
First of all, I didn't even see this. She told me she did this herself.
Mm-hmm.
She said she posted a story. Link to my finally made an OnlyFans. Swipe up. She's like, I was like, so you made an OnlyFans? I said, no. If you really looked, you would have known there was a bunch of petitions for Black Lives Matter. Mm. You know, and she's a white girl, you know, so like to do something like that, like, yo, you know, like that's like people, I'm not saying do more of that, but like in your own way, do what you got to do to open people's eyes, you know, in your own way. So yeah, I thought that was funny that she did that.
One thing we people don't really talk about is how integral Black women are to this movement. They've been how integral they've been.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Movement. Like from the civil rights times and before that.
Yeah, bro.
They're the catalyst.
Yes.
It's not the men.
No.
It's not the white people. The white people can help change it, but the people who are the centerpiece, the glue to this is Black women.
Exactly.
Like they're the strong ones. They're the ones who are on the front line. They're the ones who are taking care of the Black men. They're the ones who go through the most. They go through more than Black
anybody.
Men.
Than anybody.
Anybody.
To be a Black and a woman.
Black and a woman, yeah.
know?
It's a double like
disadvantage. Yeah.
You know, you're facing these two sides of shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They're so important to this.
Mm-hmm.
And without them, men might just be passive. Black men might just be passive about this.
They're the brains to all of this, you know?
Yeah.
Like you said, from the civil rights, people think Rosa Parks was just a woman who was fed up and said, I'm sitting here not getting... No, that shit was meticulously thought out. Mm-hmm. You know, she just come home from work and say, like, nah, fuck it, I ain't moving. You know, that's not what happened. So people think that happened.
No, it was planned,
it was
strategic,
exactly
by Black women.
Exactly. And she said it, like, and people were telling her, you know, let a man do it. She said, oh, I'm not going to let a man do it. I want to do it. Let me go and sit on that bus. Mm-hmm. And let's see what they do to me. Mm-hmm. Like, yo.
Yeah, people don't know
the
that.
Bravery. Yeah,
the bravery,
bro.
Yeah.
The bravery, like, and the ghost of Rosa Parks walks with so many of our Black women today. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like I could sometimes feel like she's just there holding their hand because you could just tell by the strength they hold. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So,
and plus we're raised by a Black woman.
Exactly, you know? So they have a soft spot for that.
Not just, it's different, man.
You know, we see it.
You know, I've had this conversation with several people, and, you know, I've said, you know, being Afro-Iranian Yes, I'm Persian. Yes, my dad taught me how to be a man. But my mom taught me how to navigate society
as a black man.
And that is so crucial, was so crucial to my growth. Because if I was raised by a Persian woman and a black dad, it's a totally different dynamic. You know, a lot of the shit that I've seen or went through could easily have gone the wrong way because of who had given me those lessons and who had raised me.
Yeah, because, you know, mom took the time to sit there. Like, you know, people talk about the talk. And for us, there's a different kind of talk.
Absolutely.
You know?
I had to talk about this stuff before having to talk about sex.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. It happens. Mom probably talked to me about it when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. Just the fact of, like, having to live with the fact that this is your skin color. You're going to be living through your life like you have a fucking 60-pound vest on your body, you know? And one thing she always said, she'd always say, you know, if you with this on your skin, this armor on your skin, to get half of what anyone has, you need to work 10 times, 20 times, 30 times as hard just to get half. So, like,
I never understood until I went and played basketball in university.
Yeah.
That's when it clicked. That's when it finally clicked for me that being black, I had to work 10 times as hard as a white man to have half of what they had.
Exactly.
That's my mom told me that from so young.
And she said, and sometimes you still won't get it. You know? So, yeah, man, shout out to the black women out there, bro.
You're important, integral, man. Integral is super important. You know, and you know what, bro? It's just the beginning.
Yeah.
It's not, this 2020 has been a fantastic year. I'm going to be the one to say it because everything is starting to shift. You know, yeah, we lost a legend. You know, it's a pandemic. We got to walk around mask on. You know, yeah, shit's going to shut down, but shit's going to everything's flipped on its head. It's just the beginning. For all we know, it could go into 2021.
Yeah.
And there's still certain events that haven't happened yet that are going to continue to dictate the course of this movement. And we're still waiting. You know, there's so much bullshit that's happened. You know, like the faulty mental health checks, which has been a fucking issue for so long. That shit needs reform. The policing needs reform. You know, we need justice for all these different people who are victims of a system that doesn't benefit colored people, black people, indigenous people. Doesn't benefit all of us. You know, and then, you know, we have the leaders are slowly emerging, one by one. We're finding out who's who and who's not who. Who can be bought and who can't be bought. One by one, everything's coming out. And that's why, like, the Gifted Gab is so important to me.
Yeah.
Because me and Andre own it.
Yeah. You know, nobody can filter
Nobody can filter us. Nobody can filter us.
That's why I love coming on here, you know.
I have I have nothing to lose.
Exactly.
You can't cancel me.
Hell no.
I run this shit. You can't cancel me.
Facts.
You can't cancel me. I can say exactly what I want to say whenever I want to say it. That
it's an expression. It's a place where you express yourself, bro.
Yeah. There's no white man paying me.
Exactly.
I got let go from my job. And I'm happy. I was happy to be let go from my part-time job.
Yeah.
Because I seen when all this shit started, I seen Wagwan. You know, and this is why ownership is so.
That's what Nipsey was talking about.
This is exactly what these guys were talking about. If you're still being paid by the white man, guess what? You have a lot to lose.
Yeah, a lot.
You have a lot to lose.
And the thing is that this is what people don't understand. Like, I'm not a far left side person. I'm not the guy who's out here fighting for Marxism or communism. However, capitalism is the root of all evil.
Absolutely.
You know, and you can say whatever you want. If you don't agree with me, school me, debate me. I'm down to have that talk. But in my estimated opinion, that is the root of all evil. Because yes, there's a lot of people who are benefiting, you know, artistically, economically. You go work a job at a retail store. Anyone gets an opportunity that is due to capitalism. Yes, but let's look at the people who were considered higher figures, you know, and people who still had to be paid by the white man, and beg for that crumb. Maybe not the crumb, but just go back to them for that dollar. It takes away. It demoralizes them. You know, look what they did to my nigga Michael Jackson. You know, like, the second that dude had all the power in the world, and his name was bigger than everyone that was giving him that check,
and he started to speak,
and he got woke, you know, and he saw what was going on. Dude, I heard a story. Dude went to the producer for Star Wars, Steven Spielberg. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And a few other top movie producers in the world, and said, "Yo, I want to create a documentary based on the systemic racism and the injustices due to black people." They said no. He said, I'll fund it. I got the bread. I'll pay for all of it. They said no. You know, and it was shortly after that, all of a sudden he touched children. You know, and it was so many people, and it wasn't only that. You know, you had tabloids paying thousands of dollars for people to come in and spread info about Michael Jackson. They had that.
That's, you know, you never believe the slanderous lies for the devil's satisfaction.
Exactly, bro. So they like, it was a goal to tear that dude down. Dude was more respected than anyone that was cutting his check.
He's the best artist of all time.
Fam, you know, but he could sit in rooms with politicians across the world, and they looked at him like he had a divine presence. You know what I'm saying? And they would have done anything to take that away from him. Anything. That's the only dude to this day. He's only hated in one. He's not hated, but the only country in the world where people will slander that name is
America.
Exactly. And somewhat of in the ignorance of Canada, you know. But this side of the world, you go anywhere else in the world and you say that name, it just brings joy. So like
anywhere, Iran,
anywhere, fam. And no, like any Africa, country in the world. Places where people don't have water and they don't have food, they know who Michael Jackson is. They don't even know what a meal is on a 7-day basis, but they know who that nigga is. You know, so like, and that killed them. Killed them. Dude funded the Million Man March. Fucking, I think 70% of his proceeds that he made in his life went to charities. Like, fam, like 70% of the money he earned as his whole life went to charity. And they would have done anything to strip that power away from him.
He was powerful.
Powerful. And you look at dudes like Hov, you can't do that to Hov. That's why I have the newfound respect for Hov since like I started listening to him a few years ago.
Yeah, because he owns everything.
Yeah,
he owns all his shit.
Everything.
And you can't even though he doesn't even speak.
He doesn't speak, but he said it in the song. You know, don't believe something about silent movies for the cameras. In that song with Ghost of Soulja Slim.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You know, you make a movie or something like that. But whatever the bar was, and it just goes to speak like you don't know what that dude does behind closed doors. You know how much power that guy holds.
Absolutely.
So yeah, bro.
This is it's why it's so important to pay attention.
Pay attention, man.
It's so important to pay attention to what's going on and who's saying what and what's saying who and who's got the power, right? You know, America is based on consumerism. You know, consumerism is in the hands of the white man. You know, that's why you have to know what you're consuming. Why it's so crucial that you're not just consuming junk.
Yeah.
Because there's artists out here that give you valuable information through the form of their art.
Yeah.
Through movies, through all this shit, you know, that and you have to pay attention to that. Not the stuff that's gonna distract you
and kind of fry your brain.
Yeah, literally fry your brain. Like before COVID, people's brains were fried.
Yeah.
Now they're waking up. And, you know, the revolution is not going to be televised. We know that now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's because there's one, because of social media. And that's one thing that Marx said. The overthrow of capitalism will be because of capitalism. Because the devices that are produced by capitalism are going to aid in the overthrow of capitalism. That's one of the things in the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah.
Right. So like these cell phones that are helping us see all this shit in real time is what's gonna aid this revolution. That's what this is right now. Right now you're watching the revolution.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be televised. So
Might be on Twitter though.
Might be on Twitter. YouTube. You know. Instagram maybe. We'll see. We don't know how Mark moves, but you know. That's why it's so important to pay attention, man. Education and just knowing what's going on. And, you know, if you're black and you're not active in this battle, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If you're white and you're not active in this battle, that's also a problem. But we just haven't got to you yet.
Yeah.
And we're coming. And, you know, you're either with it or you're not.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Well, you know, before we wrap up, is there anything you wanted to touch on? This has been probably one of the longer episodes.
Yeah, I mean, that was fun, yo. Always a pleasure to come chop it up with you. I mean, we do this every day behind closed doors. But
that's true.
But yeah, you know, just I want to say this actually to all my people who want to take part in this battle. A few things, you know, it's a long-term battle, and it's mentally draining. And one of my friends, a close friend of mine, probably the closest, told me when he saw how active we were getting, to take care of yourself mentally. You know, take those day-to-days to just unwind, read a book, do something for yourself, because it's mentally draining. And mental health's a real thing. You know, I know a lot of immigrant families, your parents might not believe in it, but it's true. So take care of yourself, and it'll power you more for this battle. It'll give you more power, more knowledge, you know. And to my people of color, all my black folks, all my indigenous folks, anyone, just stay in touch with your roots. Figure out the true history of your roots. And it'll help you. It will help you so much in the long run to come together, to hold yourself accountable, and it will give you some credibility. When you hear someone talk, I've seen videos of people going up to random people, picking on people, knowing they might not know something about a subject. Imagine if you knowledge yourself with that weapon of knowledge on that subject. You're going to make them look like a fool. So, you know, do that. And to my white folks who want to know how to help, just stay open-minded. And when the opportunity or a moment of racism comes up, don't let it slip by you. You know, I know it's probably the norm to go, that's just my Uncle Rick. He's the open racist. Page him. You know, you could pull him to the side and say, you know, like, you shouldn't be saying things like that. Have that uncomfortable conversation. Because it's not going to happen in a day. It's not going to happen in a month. It's not going to happen in a year. But over time, those things will make the effect that it can, you know. So that would be my closing statement still.
No, it's perfect, man. It's perfect. 1K Convos, you guys know what to do.
Yes, sir.
Like, subscribe, comment, share, everything, you know. Shout out to my other guy, Andre Kelly.
Yep, shout out Kelly.
You know,
that bald bastard.
We're here, man. We're trying to have the conversations that matter, and this is what we did had this platform for.
Yeah.
And yeah, www.thegiftedgab.com.
Yep.
Tap in. We got petitions. We're sending emails. We're trying to reform education and affect whatever we can, however we can, the ways we know how to. We don't know everything, and we're willing to have the conversations. You know, so if there's anything you don't know, or if there's anything you want to enlighten us on, reach out. Let's chat. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep that mask on, and just like that, we gone.